Yo, gamer name here. Welcome to another discussion video, and the topic of discussion today is offline game modes. Now, one of the biggest critiques of Tekken 7 is the lack of offline game modes. Now, this might not seem as a very huge issue, especially to the competitive players, because all they do is practice, go online, ranked, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, Tekken is mostly a PvP, player versus player game, and at times this is mental draining. Like playing Tekken all the time, losing can really get to you, right? Nothing is going right online, you're losing constantly on ranked, you're losing points, you're not punishing, you're not breaking throws, you're not blocking lows. This can be very frustrating, and sometimes it's good to take a step back, chill, and do something else. And this is where the offline game modes come into play. Offline game modes are not really supposed to be that sweaty or that, competitive to that extent. There should really be casual game modes that really take off the heat, right? Give you a break from all the sweat, and this is where offline game modes really come in. One of the biggest critiques of Tekken 7 is the lack of offline game modes, and I thought to myself, let's see what can be done in Tekken 8. So let's talk about some of the offline game modes we've had in the past and how they could return, what can be done better, and possibly some new ideas that can be introduced to Tekken 8 as well. Number 1, Tekken Bowl. Tekken Bowl is a minigame featured in Tekken 3 and returned in Tekken Tag Tournament 2 for the Wii U edition only. The aim of the minigame is to deplete the opponent's health bar either by landing the ball on the ground of the opponent's half of the arena or striking the opponent with the ball. A ball can be charged to deal more damage, with the strength of charge increasing with each strike of the ball. The higher the charge of the ball, the faster it moves and the more damage it deals, until at full charge, the ball catches fire and burns the player it hits to deal a large amount of damage. The strength of charge on the ball is displayed in a meter at the bottom of the screen. Damage dealt also depends on the ball used. There are 3 types of balls to choose from, with each dealing varying amounts of damage to the opponent. Tekken Bowl was perhaps or is perhaps the most nostalgic game modes of them all, and no surprise was one of the most requested game modes to return to Tekken 7 from the fans. Now, Tekken Bowl, like I said, is very nostalgic, and it was really fun. I remember playing this as a kid, and boy oh boy, it would be so great having this game mode back just for the nostalgic feeling. Honestly, that would be good enough for me. I know there are a lot of people that really talk about how it's all nostalgia, and so it wasn't really all that, but honestly it deserves to make a return at this point. It's been so long. In my opinion, would make a very great addition to Tekken 8. Number 2, Team Battle. Team Battle is a mode that allows players to make teams of up to 8 fighters and battle against a friend or CPU. After one character is defeated, the next one in line replaces them. Just like in survival mode, which I'm going to explain in a bit, the character's health slightly increases every time a match is won. Team Battle made its debut in Tekken 2 and has been in every game since until the release of Tekken 7. All selected characters can be randomized with the press of the stage button until Tekken 6, where simply pressing the select button will randomize a player's characters. They all appear as question marks, and losing a match will reveal the next member of the player's team. This process continues until they are down to the last member. Now, one of you guys made a comment in one of my polls on the community tab saying Tekken Team Battle would make a very great addition to competitive esports, and I fully agree. This mode is needed solely for esports, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, it's basically just a game mode, right? I mean, a Tekken, it's basically just Tekken, but in a game mode, like built in a game mode. We do have competitive team tournaments, like offline esports tournaments that are just done normally without the use of like an inbuilt game mode like Tekken Team Battle. So it really wouldn't change much, but again, mostly for that nostalgic feeling and the fun of it, it would be another great addition to Tekken 8 in my opinion. Number 3, Survival Mode. Survival Mode is a mode in the Tekken series where the objective is to defeat as many opponents as possible on a single health bar. The mode ends when the player loses a match. Just like the team battle, this mode has made its debut in Tekken 2 and has returned in every subsequent Tekken game with the exception of Tekken 7. In this mode, a player selects a character who then faces a succession of opponents until the player loses a match. The difficulty of the opponents is fixed, with the opponents gradually becoming more difficult with each match, and the number of rounds is locked to 1. If the player takes damage during a match, only a small amount of it will recover for the next match. The amount of health restored is slightly higher if more time is left on the clock, providing an incentive for the player to defeat opponents faster. If the player breaks a high score and defeats enough opponents, they will get a message saying you are the greatest survivor. This was one of my favorite game modes. I used to play this a lot in Tekken 5. Like going through the CPU and having that hella win streak, right? Breaking records, right? 25 wins in a row, 30 wins in a row. It was so satisfying AF. With one health bar, like you wouldn't recover health. The only health you would recover was very, very minimal. Now this mod was not very casual. It was actually very sweaty, but something is more casual if it's against the CPU and not another player. So like I said about game modes, they are more fun and less sweaty than actual PvP matches. So Tekken Survival Mode was a great addition to the series and definitely should return in Tekken 8. Number 4, Tekken Force. Another fan favorite, me inclusive. Tekken Force is a minigame first introduced in Tekken 3 and later reappeared in Tekken 4. The player selects a character and goes through stages fighting Tekken Force members. The stages end with a boss being one of the fighters in the game's roster. The minigame was later expanded upon with Devil Within in Tekken 5 and Scenario Campaign in Tekken 6. So the Tekken Force and the Tekken Bowl as well are the two most requested for game modes to return in Tekken 7 at the time of launch. Now I fully agree with this. It reached a point where Tekken Force became like a staple in the game. So when they stopped doing this, I believe after Tekken 6, it did not return in Tekken Tag 2. A lot of people were really not for the idea, right? Like these little mini game modes are what make Tekken like what it is. The addition of the nostalgic feeling is what really completes the game, in my opinion. This is why Tekken 3 is really regarded as one of the greatest games of all time. Not Tekken games, but like the greatest games of all time. This game was really nostalgic, and the Tekken Force is something that people talk about a lot. Like Tekken Force, what comes to mind for me is playing with my family, bro. Playing with my bros and my sister, riding around the back streets, fighting these random ass guys, seeing them do moves of other Tekken characters in the game. Like that nostalgic feeling, that fun factor, that's what we need. Tekken 7 feels like bare bones because there's nothing else to do in the game rather than just fight, right? Go online and fight. No, we need to accept, like embrace the game, take in the full game, like what it is, right? You need to enjoy that shit, bro. That's what we need. And Tekken Force for me was that. Tekken Force for me had everything you'd want in a game as a mini game. So Tekken Force for me is a must return in Tekken 8. Hopefully they do something similar. It can be something new, but something like a side scroll game, a mini game, it can be cool, and we really need this back. A lot of people have been asking for this, and I know Harada has been doing a lot of work when it comes to fan service. Like, we've got a lot of stuff from him in Tekken 7 that we didn't actually deserve, right? Because of how good the game was. But for this one, it needs to make an appearance. It really needs to make an appearance. So these are the top 4 game modes, in my opinion, that would really make a great addition to Tekken 8, and hopefully they do return. Tekken 7, however, did introduce the new treasure battle, which was more of a modified version of Ghost Battle from Tekken 6 and Tekken Tag Tournament 2. This was basically the only offline game mode alongside Tekken Bowl and the Tekken main storyline. So just like Ghost Battle, the player fights against an endless amount of opponents and gains fight money and customizations items for each victory. The player also gets like offline ranks compared to online ranks like Tekken Gold, True Tekken Gold and Tekken Gold Omega, but offline. Now the biggest gist or the biggest problem with Treasure Battle was the fact that the customization items you unlock could be purely randomized, right? You'd be using Kazuya in Treasure Battle in the hopes of unlocking Kazuya related items, but you'd end up getting like Lucky Chloe items or some shit like that. That's what really made Treasure Battle not that fun and not that worth grinding. So Treasure Battle, in my opinion, is not as good as Ghost Battle from the previous games. The modification was quite alright. You know, they added like a very fast mode, I guess. They sped up the attack speeds and all that stuff. That stuff was fun, but it just really didn't stick to us like Ghost Battle from the previous games did. We also saw the return of Tekken Bowl. Now the biggest problem with Tekken Bowl was the lack of online. Like, I'm calling these games offline game modes, but there's no problem with adding online to these game modes, right? So Tekken Bowl felt very bland and very repetitive, so to speak, and the lack of online also affected it that much. So now all these game modes can be improved on going into Tekken 8. We learn from our mistakes. Experience is the greatest teacher, and Namco should really take all this advice and the feedback from the fans concerning the missing content in the game. Add all these things within Tekken 8 and this game would be fully complete and not really bare bones as Tekken 7 is right now. So these, in my opinion, are the game modes that really should make a return to Tekken 8. I have an idea of other game modes, other grinding modes they can introduce to the game, improve on customization. I'm going to do another video on that, so please stay tuned. Make sure you like, subscribe. That's the best way to keep in touch with my content. Stay tuned for more, guys. If you've made it this far, like I said, like, subscribe, help with the YouTube algorithm. And thank you so much for the support, guys. My channel has been doing well the past few days and I'm very grateful for that. So yeah, take care, my boys, and GG.